to get back to the action, knowing that Hiroto is out there. And I mean, look at the scoreline right now. What's happened? We're halfway through this heat, Chris, and we've got a 0.77 for Hiroto and a 0.43 for Nick. Billy hasn't caught a wave, and neither has Gatien.
Well, that is a kind of telling us how difficult it is or can be. Heat, every heat is different. So for a guy like Billy Stairmand, who's been on the QS for the better part of the last 5-10 years, I mean, he is a veteran competitor already at such a young age. And for him to yet to get engaged in this heat and not catch a wave, I mean, that shows us it's difficult to find a good one out there. Hiroto Ohara as well. I mean, he surfed here a lot growing up, coming through the amateur rigs. This is a guy that has won US 10,000 at the Vans US Open of Surfing. So, another veteran to competitive surfing. So it's pretty interesting that these guys haven't got involved yet.
You mentioned Hiroto winning the US Open, and Billy Stairmand's also won a QS 6000 at Pantene. So as you said, he's not necessarily a spring chicken though. Billy is 28 years of age, but I think the biggest thing that he brings into this competition, aside from his talent, is being a veteran. And, whether his approach was to be patient or it's just happening, he's not finding open waves, we're not sure. But look at this turn here for Hiroto.
Beautiful opener for Hiroto Ohara. And just kind of not settling on this wave, because this was actually a nice little runner from that mid portion of the outside. And he does well to manufacture a score there with 7 minutes and 56 seconds to go. Safe to say that will be the highest single scoring wave of this heat so far. Look at all the movement in the inside portion of this lineup. It is going to be a struggle to get yourself in the right spot.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see where that score comes through for Hiroto based on where we're at right now. Remember, that scale does adjust throughout the day for the judges. Let's look back at this last wave here for Hiroto. So a nice little setup, comes off the bottom, beautiful bottom turn, arcs it off the top, commits to that rail, throwing a lot of spray, drives straight up into that second section. So nice 1-2 combo right out of the gates. Wave flattens out, but he carries the momentum, and then just a couple smaller turns here on the inside. But based on what I've been seeing out there, I think this thing's going to head up into that 5, maybe even 6-point range. And as you indicated, no doubt it's the best wave of the heat, and he needed that. Now he needs to back it up quickly, and it's really going to put the pressure on the other 3 competitors.
If you can really start to draw that distinction and show your control, that's what the judges are going to really appreciate. Here goes Billy Stairmand. And right there, Billy kind of getting the memo that you got to get involved if you want to make it through this heat. So as it stands now, Billy Stairmand will be on the board. Most likely it'll be just slightly under Hiroto Ohara's previous wave. Gatien Dalahaye yet to be involved here. Nick Holmgren has just a small score, quick up and down. Here's that last wave for Billy Stairmand.
Yeah, clean. Nice snap, and you see the momentum he came out of that turn with. But you see the warbles going up the face right there, Chris.
Ribs, right?
Yeah, a lot of ribs going up the face right there. And it's, it's harder for you to set a rail and drive into the next section, but he did it cleanly. He squared up on the second turn, too. So Billy answers back, and now he and Hiroto, I believe, will be 1 and 2 in this heat. And again, though, the door's going to be open until they can back those last waves up in that exchange.
Well, we know that there are big scores out there. We've already seen a 9 today. We've seen multiple scores in that 7 range. So we know the waves are out there, but with 20 minutes, you're going to see some ebb and flow in terms of the consistency and the quality that these surfers are facing out in the lineup. So we still wait for our judges to lock these scores in.
Well, remember,
it's going to be close between Billy and Hiroto's last wave. They're kind of right there, evenly matched on those waves. Hiroto possibly with a slight edge.
Remember, over in the judges panel, they are utilizing the replays over there, making sure that they watch and analyze every one of the waves before they implement those scores to make sure they get the precision that they need to get the surfers that will advance. And on occasion, we'll see it take a little bit longer because with the 5 judges on the panel, the head judge now is not having as much of a role in directing the judges. They're much more independent now. And what will happen is when the 5 scores go in, if it shows up red, that means there's either someone that's too high or too low, and the head judge will just say, hey guys, we're going to watch that video one more time. We've got, one score that's too high or a couple scores that are too low. He doesn't say which number of the judge it is. He just says, guys, let's watch it again. They all watch it. They reassess their scores, and then it goes in, and they change their score for those guys that weren't on board with the averages. And I love what they're doing here in 2018 and making those adjustments and changes as we head into the Tokyo Olympics.
Well, it's about adapting. The surfers have to adapt to changing conditions, and the judges as well. Here we go. This is your surfer representing Sweden, Nick Holmgren. Big, powerful surfer. As he gets around this section on the inside with 4 minutes, 20 seconds to go, that will be his first score of note. Big scores dropping through. Hirota Ohara gets the edge with a 5.33. Billy Stairmand right there with him, a 4.67. So the judges taking a little bit of extra time, just knowing full well how important these opening scores are going to be for these surfers. Here's our first look at Gatien Dalahaye representing Team France. Nice opening carve for Gatien. He makes his way through to the inside. He's got big shoes to fill with that powerhouse Jorgen Cousinet, kind of being the anchor of Team France. And then, of course, the French female surfer being led by Pauline Adot. So France has come through with a solid team. It's up to Gatien now to capitalize and try to get one more score here as Billy Stairmand, that angle from above shows you the power of that inside section. If a guy like Billy Stairmand can get thrown off his board, you know there's some power. There's Team New Zealand flying the flags. Paige Harab, an incredible surfer. I'm liking the chances for Team New Zealand as well. Every time I see the full team on screen, I get excited because I know the depth and the talent that these teams that have fielded full teams. And remember, Todd, some of these teams only being represented by 1 or 2 surfers, you have the opportunity to field 3 men and 3 women. And I would say probably 3/4 of our teams represented here today have full teams, but some of them just, maybe don't have the depth yet. But as they build and surfing gains in popularity in their home country, you can bet in the next couple of years, full teams will be fielded by every one of the 42 nations represented this year.
Yeah, well, and as we heard, now with the inclusion in the Olympics, a lot of the government's starting to get involved to give the funding. That's the biggest thing, especially for those smaller nations, Chris, and for that matter, even the bigger nations. Funding is a big deal. It costs a lot of money to travel here, between airfare, between accommodations, meals, etc. It's not a cheap thing to do, especially for a party of 6, and that's just for the surfers. Then you usually have a coach, you usually have maybe a physio. So, there's a lot of money involved, and so, when we watch these events, we don't realize what these athletes and teams have gone through just to get here.
Hirota Ohara. Again, that is showing that Hirota is a steady, consistent competitor, not giving up. He's got under 2 minutes to go now, but that was a beautiful opening snap for Hirota Ohara. His low score, a 0.77. So doing well to back up that big 5.33. Score comes through for Billy Stairmand on his last wave, a 1.33. So still looking for a backup. And the judges are quick with the score for Hirota Ohara. It's going to come through as a solid chunk of points for your surfer from Japan. Here's Gatien Dalahaye. He only needs a 2.08, so he's done well on that wave to potentially get himself into that advancing spot. Billy Stairmand now has to play some defense, as that was a solid effort from Gatien Dalahaye.
Yeah, that was a great wave there for him. He needed it. 1 minute, 15 seconds to go, so this is going to be interesting to see where this score comes in for the Frenchman. And, I continue to talk about the Japanese team and being the home court favorites, but you got to look at the defending gold medalist coming from France. It is a different team that's fielded for the most part this year outside, I think, of Pauline Adot. But one thing, to keep in mind is the beach breaks in France, Chris, very similar to the conditions we're seeing out here days 1 and day 2 at this year's games. Big, powerful, thick, a lot of closeouts, and you have to commit. So I would think the French would be feeling right at home out here today as well.
Yeah, the French females are going to be really helping their team along with Pauline Adot, Justine Dupont, who is an absolute charger, and Kaniel Boulard. So here's a look back at what we saw from Hirota Ohara. Beautiful opening turn.
Yeah, big jam right there. Comes around that section. This was a good wave for him. Look at this first turn right there, right on the button, right under the pocket. That's the most critical section. So he performed right where the judges want to see him. And then answering back here was the surfer Gatien in the white jersey here. A couple of nice turns, and he didn't need much, Chris. He only needed a 2-something.
He got it.
And
4.57.
Score's already in. Yep. So looks like right at the end, they're taking it from Billy Stairmand.
Well, you see Billy Stairmand right here during the replay. We could potentially see a switch up here from Billy Stairmand. He didn't need much as well. And that's why you got to love these 20-minute heats. They fly by so fast. All surfers not even engaged in this heat until about the 10-minute mark. So that was, for all intents and purposes, a 10-minute heat. So Hiroto Ohara does well to defend, dropping a 5.33 and a 5.27. Here's a look back at Billy Stairmand's last wave. We'll see if Billy did enough.
Yeah, big float right there. Free falls to the bottom and then stuck with it through to the inside. Do you know what he needed, Chris?
I'm not sure what Billy needed. He did get a 3.27.
Not
Unofficially,
enough.
it's not going to be enough. So your surfer from France grinds through that heat. And, of course, the beach is going wild for Hiroto Ohara.
Yeah.